Hello, this is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. I am the host of this motivational and inspirational podcast, and I want to ask a question. Have you ever wanted to have the blessing without going through the work or going through the trials or tribulations that you have to go through in order to get that blessing? If we go through the Word of God and we look at all that had been done, look at the work that Moses had to go through to finally get to the point where he was able to lead the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. God has the power to do anything at any time, any way he wants to do it. The problem is we sometimes don't have the patience, we don't have the diligence, we don't have the mindset to do the things that is needed for us to do to get to the area that we're needing to get to. Oftentimes we complain that we want to do this or we want to get here or we want to have that, but we don't want to work for it. It's like having a taste for a chocolate cake. We have the taste for it, but we don't want to go get up and go in the kitchen and bake. And I'm not talking about those that bake for a living. I'm talking about those that can bake, but they don't want to take the time to do what needs to be done to have that chocolate cake. I was looking at so many different aspects throughout the Bible, again, starting with Moses. But if we go a little further back, we can start with Abraham. In order for Abraham to be the father of all the land of all the nations, he had to do something. What did he do? He had to take He had to take his son, Isaac, to the hill and sacrifice him as that living sacrifice. I do apologize. I'm trying not to get myself all mixed up, but I'm thinking of something else at the same time because he did have the twins later on down the line. But we want to think about all that transpired. What was probably going through Abraham's mind? How much did he trust God? And when we think about the mental capacity, I'm sure that took a toll on him. Nevertheless, he took his son to be offered up as a sacrifice. And the angel of God spoke out and said, Abram. And he said, here am I. Because he didn't want to do it. You could tell by how quickly he responded. But what happened is that when he heard that his name be called, and he said, here am I. The angel spoke, don't touch thy son. And he found a ram in the bush. We don't know what God will do if we don't go to the very limit of what God asks us to do in order to be blessed. If we take a look at Job is the perfect example of that. God could have blessed him with double what he had from the beginning. He really could have. God is that powerful. But there was a message in behind it. There was a meaning in behind that. God had a direction that he wanted to go in order for us to see what individuals had to go through, whether it's mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically, spiritually, to get the blessing that they were going to go through. With Abraham, it was possibly emotionally, psychologically, mentally, physically, and spiritually that he was attacked. He was probably attacked on all four elements, where Job was attacked physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. But spiritually, he kept his faith up. He kept fighting. He kept going through. In the end, once God straightened him out a little bit and told him, you know what, were you there when I laid the foundation of this earth? Were you there when I put the sun and the moon and the stars in the sky? Were you there when I put the blade of grass down? He had to put Job in check very quickly because Job was getting out of hand a little bit. That God had to possibly wipe out a little speck. He was righteous, he was upright, he was holy, but there was something that God had to get cleansed out, I believe. And that's why he allowed Job to go through everything that he went through, but later he blessed him twice than what he had. If we look at the wall of Jericho, they had to walk around that wall one time for 6 days, and then on the seventh day, 7 times. God could have just knocked the wall down, but he chose not to just allow it to be that simple, that easy. He had to get them to see how powerful he was. So, what did he do? He made them walk around that wall one time for 6 days, and on the 7th day, 7 times. And when they cheered, celebrated, and blew their trumpets and horns, that's when the wall came tumbling down. God does not want us to think that life is supposed to be easy. That the challenges that we face is not to punish us, but to strengthen us. It is not to bring us down, but is to bring us up. How he wants us to use the depths of our spirits, the depths of our heart and soul, to trust him. That whatever he tells us to do, do it. And in doing so, he will get the reward. If you think about the fight that needed to take place, where a prophet was told, I need men to go and fight so we can take this land. He had 10,000 men. He said it's too many. He said it's just too many. And so God started giving instructions about if they don't want to go fight, send them home. Well, a great number of them fell away or went away because they didn't want to fight. And God said, it's still too many. He said, so look at those that lap like a dog and look at those that drink their water out of their hand. And make the deciding factor from that point. But the fight was going to be overcome by little, not by much. And in doing so, God is showing us just how much power he had. Man doesn't have power. God does. God has all the power. Any situation or circumstance that we are facing in our life today, we have to look at it. It's not bigger than God. God is bigger than that. What we need to be looking at is what God wants us to do in order to be blessed. He's not going to just give it to us. Do you realize that Noah, when he told Noah, I need for you to build this ark, Noah had to put in some work. Because God had let him know that I'm going to flood this work. I'm going to flood the earth. I'm not going to just flood this part. I'm going to flood the earth. I'm going to wipe everything and everybody that is left behind. I'm going to drown them. I'm going to take them out of here. Because it became a perverse place. God could have done he could have did it any way that he wanted to do. He could have did it any way he wanted to. But he chose to have Noah build an ark, have 7 unclean species, male and female, and 1 clean species of each kind, male and female, to board on this ark, plus his family, his 3 sons, daughter-in-laws, and his wife, along with himself. God could have wiped out this earth any way he chose and still preserve Noah's and his family's life. But he did it intricately because he wanted to show his power. Now, it only was 8 people left, but still, he wanted to show his power. We want things to happen right now. My dad used to call us the microwave kids, and now it is instantaneous kids in today's time. We want it now. Not work for it, not dwell for it, not build brick by brick. We want it now. And what happens is, no matter how fast or how slow we get it, if we do it the right way, we'll get it and it will be ours to keep. When we work for it, it's so many people building on sand and not enough people building on the rock. When we know that the least bit of rain, wind, whatever that come around, the sand, whatever we built on the sand, it's going to crumble. We don't want to take the time to build on the rock because it's time consuming. We don't want to be diligent. We don't want to take time out to really create and construct what God has planned for us. We don't realize we're building for ourselves. As the end result, we're building for ourselves. So are we going to take our time to build? And have it the way that we want it? Or are we going to take and do a quick run at it and it falls apart in no time? Our quarterback built him a home. And it took him a little while to get it the way that he wanted it. But the fruit of his labor was happiness. When he took the time to build it the way that he wanted it to be built, he got the results that he was looking for. I haven't heard him complain. I haven't heard him complain at all. The whole point is this. When we are seeking God to bless us with something, when we're seeking God to bless us with the blessing of whatever it is that we're asking for, He is going to take His time to tell us the things that we need to do to get us where He wants us to be and where we asked Him to be as well. I remember in the beginning of this journey with this very ministry that I'm with right now, I was asking God for money to pay for my son's tuition. I was asking for money to help him get to school. God told me start this ministry. And I'm like, how is starting this ministry going to help me get my son in school? It got him in school, and he was able to go until it became too expensive, for one. And then the second part of it is he didn't quite like the curriculum the way that he wanted it to be. It was almost like it didn't match what the courses were supposed to be. So he got a little frustrated. A couple of days ago, he asked me what was his purpose. And I told him, as a matter of fact, it was on Sunday of this week, he asked me what was his purpose. And I told him, your purpose is to do the very thing that you're doing with this podcast. You're doing the editing, you're doing the music, you're doing everything. I help out with some of the editing, but he take it to the next level. I said, this is what you're good at doing. So he pursued it. He's in school now. He just enrolled in school. I said, look at God. Look how fast God works. God is not slowful, but if we put in the work, when we put the work in, and when we are diligent, and when we enjoy doing what we do, God will encompass our journey in around this. Now, this ministry started with one thing in my mind, but God saw a broader picture. But he had to get it started in order for us to be where we are today. And so when we look at our prayers, and when we seek God and ask God and plead with God, well, God, why aren't you doing anything? Why aren't you moving fast enough? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing? We have to put in the work. Jesus went to a wedding, and they had ran out of wine. He told them to go get some barrels of water and fill it to the brim. Jesus is God. God lived and dwelled within Christ. Christ could have just prayed and asked the Father to just bless us with the wine. But he made them work to go do something in order for the blessing to come. When he blessed the water was turned to wine. When those that were celebrating it said, they got kind of offended. Why did you save the best for last? Well, when Jesus touched it, you're going to get the best. You're not going to get anything less but the best. You're going to get the very best, the top of the line stuff that nobody can even come close to the wine that he makes. Nobody. Because that is the cream of the cream of the crop right there. When we think about Jesus and feeding the multitude of people, he took a little ass lunch, some fish and some bread, and he blessed it. He fed 5,000 men, not including women and children. He fed 5,000. Jesus could have just spoke to the land and told him to grow a crop. Or he could have spoke to the ravens and said, bring some food for my people to eat. He didn't do that. He took a little ass lunch and he blessed it instead. The whole point is we need to learn how to work. We need to learn how to be diligent in our work. You work that God can bless. We don't get blessed, then we work. No, that's how God does things. When the children of Israel went to, I believe it was either Isaiah or Jeremiah. I can't remember which one it was, but they went and he told them, or maybe it was Joshua, and told them, that we don't have enough land. I think it was Joshua, now that I think about it. And he said, we don't have enough land for the rest of the tribes. And he told them, he said, well, go and see what you can find and come back and report to me. And when they went out and they told him, well, we found some. He said, well, you're going to have to go and clean it up. You're going to have to retrieve it for yourself. That it will be enough for you and the remaining of the tribes. In other words, you got to work. You have to work. The whole important factor of this is this. No matter what we ask for from God, when God tells us or give us instructions to do something, it may not make any sense. We ask him for a house. He's telling us to go and feed the hungry. God, I'm asking you for a house. What does going out here feeding the hungry have to do with getting a house? It's a purpose. God is putting you to work. And he's not asking you to do something ridiculously hard. He's asking you to do something simple. Like with Elisha. When the king went to him and asked him about that leprosy he had. He told him to go and dip yourself in the river Jordan 3 times and you'll be made clean. He got mad. Like, well, all the waters around here, why this one? And so his people that were following him asked him, if he asked you to do something difficult, would you have done it? He's asking you to do something simple and you're complaining. Finally, he humbled himself. And see, that's what it's all about. It's all about humbling ourselves. We have to humble ourselves. And in humbling ourselves, he went and he did what Elisha told him. And in doing so, God healed him of that leprosy. We got to put in the work. It's not going to come to us like instantaneous. I know God can do it. God can do anything. God can do anything that he so desires. But in order for us to learn how to appreciate what we receive, we got to work for it. Just like our paycheck. We work for it. When we look at it, we like, yeah, I like this. In other words, if we don't put in the time to do it right, if we don't build on the rock, but we build on the sand, guess what? That you built on the sand is not going to last very long. But what we build on the rock is for all times. We got to make sure that we're building on the right foundation. This is Kim with Standing on Solid Ground. You have yourself a wonderful and blessed day.